This podcast is sponsored by Elevations. Do you want to distinguish yourself from everybody else in the competition? Do you want to get the absolute best buyers in the country? Do you want to close more accounts than anybody else in the market? Well, use Elevations. Welcome back to another episode of LA Legends, the podcast where Aflac pros sharpen their skills, share their success stories, and build the next generation of leaders in the LA South market. My name is Michael Fisher.
And I'm Michelle Lee. Today's episode is one every leader, DSC, and future manager needs to hear, because we're talking about something that can completely change the trajectory of an organization. How valuable a new associate really is.
Yes, and you've probably heard the phrase before, the baby in the car is worth $25,000. If you haven't, you're going to hear it a lot more. And today we're actually unpacking what that really means and the originator of that concept. So we are going to dive in, and I want to actually introduce the Southwest Territory Development Manager, Gina Santangelo, who is a friend of the market and also has been in every position in the field, and also just ridiculously involved in a lot of the HQ roles, even when I was at HQ. So welcome, Gina. Long time coming.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
This is going to be awesome. And before we dive into the $25,000 baby in the car, we always wanted to see, can you give us like a really quick, we'll say commercial of your Aflac journey that brought us here?
Yeah, quick rundown. So I started in 1997 as a regional admin for an RSC in Colorado while I was going to college. My senior year of college, so January of 2000, basically, I studied for my insurance test, got appointed as an agent with Aflac and Associate February 1st of 2000. I've been an associate, a DSC, an RSC. I was a BDC, Broker Development Coordinator for Colorado, New Mexico North. Then we added in Texas West as a secondary market, moved over to the broker sales training team before moving over to territory staff. I guess that would be 3 years ago. So my title now is Distribution Development Manager, which basically means however I can help the field sell more Aflac is what I am asked to do. Specifically with Chris Ashton, he's got me focused currently on broker and increasing broker sales with our associates.
Yeah, we see you a lot. We see you on our broker calls, but also when you have come to our ACMs, what's really fun is you don't just talk broker, you talk about career development. You actually show some of the mentorship that you've done over the years, and we're going to talk about that today. So, Michelle, let me turn it over to you to kick this bad boy off.
So we got this phrase of the baby in the car that is worth $25,000 came from that ACM, as Michael just said. What does that actually mean to you? We'll break it down. We'll work backwards a little bit, but that statement has stuck with us since that meeting. So what does it actually mean to you?
So when I was a district sales coordinator, let me start by saying when I was a DSC, about 90% of my team came from nominations. And so as a district, I saw very quickly that the path towards making additional money, but more importantly, growing your team and developing coordinators starts with that relationship between the associate and the DSC. If I had my team nominating recruits, I was going to do everything within my power to make sure that those people on my team made it, that they didn't quit. And then when I fast forwarded into that regional sales coordinator role, the thing that gets me fired up the most, and you guys have seen this in your ACM meeting, is when we have DSCs that basically come up with an excuse as to why they would not train someone that their RSC has worked so hard to get through the door. It's like absolutely unacceptable to me. Someone took the time to interview, voluntarily pay to study, give up their time to go take an insurance test, paid for the test, then came on board in hopes that they were going to get a district sales coordinator to train them, like their regional sales coordinator had promised them. I think sometimes our sales leaders, specifically DSCs, get bogged down in the minutia or the tornado of everything that they've got to do day to day, but they forget the why. they are DSCs and really what that income opportunity is for them in terms of taking a new associate in the car with them. So early on in my career, my RSC had told me the most valuable thing you can do as a DSC with an associate is have windshield time, meaning that
Mhm.
you should have someone in your car every single day wherever you are going as a district sales coordinator. So to me, fast forward that, Mikey, you've got children now.
Yeah.
Um, we all have cars that kind of set off that ding, ding, ding alert. Like when you get to where you're going and they're like, hey, check the back seat. Make sure you didn't leave your baby in the car, right? For that heat warning. I think DSCs should think of their new perspective. Your job is to make sure you've got a butt buckled into your seat wherever you're going as a DSC, whether it's to a broker meeting, your own personal prospecting, prospecting with an associate, running DMs, re-DMs, claims activity, like whatever you are doing, your associate needs to see what you do as a DSC. $25,000 really boils down to the override opportunity and the income potential that a DSC has for taking that person all the way through their NASB awards and then their override.
Yeah.
When you add up their override and their bonuses that they can earn from being a DSC and taking new associates through that series, it's 25 grand. So why the
Yeah.
heck would you not have a new associate buckled up, right? And teach your baby how to do this job so that you're earning $25,000.
Yeah, and just to stay on this metaphor, I mean, sometimes I feel like we roll the windows up, take the keys out, and leave them in the hot car
Yep,
and alone,
yep.
and it's not great. That's not that's not awesome. So I wanted to take a step back because we had Jen Freeman on, who you actually are a personal mentor to, and she kind of talked through this. So how did you make that a top of mind thing to your DSCs? How did you kind of bring the why into that? How did because literally when you were talking about this in our meeting, it was like she was like trained and like I saw like it wasn't exactly PTSD on her face, but it was something close to it where she was like, "Don't worry, mom, I won't do it." So, like, what can you talk through a little bit of how you kind of instilled that inside of your team?
Yeah, I mean, I always so two things, right? As a regional sales coordinator, it was really important for me that my DSCs understood what I said in the interview process itself. So I would have them sit in on interviews. A lot of times I had DSCs involved in the second or even encourage them to do like a third interview because I wanted them to have that connection, right? So if you as the RSC, Mikey, are interviewing Michelle and Michelle's coming on to work with me as a DSC, I want to make sure that Michelle is as bought into me as she is to you as the region, right? Because I'm going to be spending 90% of her sales training time is going to be with me as the DSC, not the regional sales coordinator. I don't care if you're doing Monday morning meetings. I don't care if the RC is doing Friday cool downs or whatever you're doing. Your DSC has to be bought into Michelle and Michelle has to be bought into the DSC. So it started there. And we had very transparent conversations in my leadership team. I referred to them as our board of directors. So we talked about expectations. They could expect from me that I would hire somebody that was going to show up and do the work.
Mhm.
Occasionally, were they missing a tooth? Sure, right? But they're going to get dental insurance. They can go get that fixed,
Amen.
right? I mean, that's the joke, right? But
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are there times that we bring people on board that aren't perfect? Absolutely, right? But the DSC does not get to quit. And I stressed the heck out of that. You don't get to quit on an associate. An associate may quit on you because they don't have the work ethic, they don't know how to commit to doing the work. You as a DSC don't get to quit on that new associate. So there were expectations in place. My DSCs always knew I had their back. And one of the ways we did that is we kind of had a weekly scorecard that was an expectation. And if you're not using some sort of a type of a scorecard, I would recommend you do that because what it
Yeah.
did is it held the associate accountable towards activity based off their income goals, not the district's income goals and not the region's income goals, but the associate's income goals. Their activity was written down on what they had done. So if they didn't quite hit the mark, the DSC was able to coach them on, hey, you're not going to hit your income, right? On the
Yep.
flip side, I had the DSCs back because the DSC also had to sign off on how many hours they worked with that person in the field and showing what activities they had done that week. So either the associate didn't show up or the DSC didn't show up, but you were not going to be a DSC on my team if you did not show up. Like that was just kind of the understanding. because that is your job. Your job as a district sales coordinator is to take a new person and show them how to do this business.
Facts, talking points, and solutions you need right at your fingertips. Build trust, show value, and close deals with confidence. Site Seller, where conversations turn into partnerships.
Some of the things that you said, the transparency between you and your district, right, from region to district, of the
Yep.
expectation of what happens in buying it, one, buying into the person, to the expectation for what it takes that if you're on this team, this is what needs to be executed. But then you said
Yep.
systems,
Hmm.
systems, and
Yep.
putting pressure to it, right? That, and there's so many things that we've come out this year as a market to help alleviate so they can put pressure on the systems that can help
Yeah.
them hold accountable and to get those new associates through. Because we all know it only takes about one new person doing things the right way to change the
Yeah.
trajectory of that district as well.
For
So
sure.
Mhm.
let me ask you, so when it comes to DSCs, because you've involved them now in that recruiting process or that at least that interview process,
Yep.
how do we start getting, as you are working with your team, let's say if you're a brand new region working with newer DSCs, what are some good ways to kind of build that relationship with them so they see
Yep.
those like every new associate is actually a future asset versus just a head count, because we do have
Yeah.
new regions in our market as well. So
Yeah, I think
Yep.
it's new RSC, especially when you've been promoted to your peers. That was my story with Colorado and with Jen Freeman, right? We were peers. I got promoted. She was a CIT, I was a DSC. I got promoted to an RSC. I promoted her to a district. They looked at me like I was crazy because I got promoted to my peers. And I asked them all to invite me to see them do a DM.
Nice.
And they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Like, obviously, I open accounts. Obviously, I know what I'm doing. I know how to close whatever. Oh, Gina, you can't have 3 people, right, going to meet with HR, like a new associated district and myself. And I'm gonna tell you that's BS, and you're full of excuses. And if I'm gonna your team, I need to know how you communicate. I need to see how you talk to people. I kinda need to figure out what your bird is, right?
Yeah.
So that when I'm interviewing as a region, I know what people I can place with you that will be successful. And so Jen was one of those. Like I loved working with her so much. She was all in. Like, yeah, Gina, what do we need to do? I had another DSC that would not take me with her, but recorded DMs. And to this day, when she does re-DMs or she has meetings with brokers and they don't progress forward, she gets stuck. She'll still send me recordings even now and be like, what did I miss? Or where can I go back? Or whatever. So it
Wow.
started there because I think that builds trust of I'm not here to get you in a bad moment. I'm actually here to catch you doing something right. And then here's the why, right? The why on the back end is everything we talked about. I need to know your personality style. I need to see how you are in a work environment. I need to know that I need to have confidence in what your skill set is so that when I'm recruiting to these people, to you, I know your capacity and things like that. So it started there and then just a lot of
Yeah.
conversation. I know you guys have redone your REDM and you've worked on coming up with processes. I did that with my team as an RSC. Like, what are the no-goes or non-negotiables that need to happen in a DM? We spent a weekend locked up in a house putting that together, myself and my DSCs. And then we actually had every single associate because again, I got promoted and took half of a really large region. Like the region
Mhm.
was 8 million, they split it in half. So 4 and 4. So I got half of this region, and again, I knew these people, but I had never really worked with them unless they came directly from my district. So
Yeah.
we had every associate, whether you had been with Aflac 20 years or 2 months, role play a DM, and we had a checklist that we went through. So the DSCs were in that with me. The DSCs were in MIPS with me, obviously, so they got to really see, I think, how to coach and how to have those conversations. And we
nice.
we had people that they failed that DM and we gave them coaching on what they missed or what they needed to tweak or whatever and had them come back, have them come back through and retest. So we did a lot together
Yeah.
to
I
answer.
love it, Gina. So I wanted to just take a step back and underline a couple things that you just said because some people might be like, "Oh, I don't know if that's applicable to me." A couple things. One is I think that Aflac about 5 years ago, and I really do think we're getting better at this, but about 5 years ago, we started getting into this old behavior where we weren't talking about this career in a performance-based kind of sales coaching sort of way. We started doing like, just do this magical stuff and then yeah, like everything's gonna work out and it's gonna be fine. And like, please keep working here. And then like it's just BS and it doesn't work. So I love the fact that you taking over that organization, you're like, hey, we're actually gonna have real coaching here. And at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't want coaching whatsoever, they either A, just don't believe in you. And what I'll say is you obviously did a great job of that, like understanding their why and getting back in front of them. But the other thing is if people would wanna hang on to their ego rather than, perform better and help and impact lives in a better way, then maybe they're not the right people. So I love that you talked through that. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Um, Other one that I just really liked because it's for people that are like, "Oh, I don't know if this is applicable." When somebody advances or moves up in leadership, which half the people here at some point, you might actually advance into being a CIT, DSC, RSC market. It's never in a clean, clear box where you're
Yeah.
like, oh, yes. So here's this perfect thing where people are actually aligned to your systems. They're all starting at the exact same area and it's going to be perfect. So hearing some of those things is just really impactful for me. Can you kind of talk about some of the mentorship things that you may have done early on to get buy-in from some of those people that you have led that maybe just were peers in the beginning or strangers? I mean, you've probably had both.
Yeah, I love this. I love this topic because I think we have a lot of people that are naive in believing that because they got promoted to a leadership role, they don't have to do that anymore. Oh, buddy. Yeah, you do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
So, the very first thing I did once I got promoted to lead my peers, honestly, was I met with them each individually and asked them what they needed from me. Like, what was something as a DSC that you've not got from your previous leader? And we had a great leader. Like, we actually
Yeah.
did come from a very functional team. The RSC that left got promoted to a market director, so the team was actually very healthy. And like
Hmm.
ESCO is coming out of 2 years of top 10, national sales, things like that. So we were very healthy. But again, these were my peers. So I didn't really invest in them as much as I would have if they were my team, right? We were peers.
Right.
So when I now became their leader, I had to find out what mattered to them and what their values were to figure out how to connect with them and remind them why. So I had one DSC that had been a DSC for probably 6 or 7 years that had never famed.
Mm,
And I was like, "What?" Like, cause she wrote a lot of business. Her team seemed very successful. I had another DSC that asked me to show her and tell her why people were not staying on her team. She'd get them through, like, Triple Crown or All-Star, and they'd leave. She didn't have any second-year associates on her team unless they were veterans that she had inherited. I
interesting.
had 2 that were brand new to the DSC role, and then I had another one that had transferred in from another market that actually interviewed for the RSC role, but I got it. And
So
so
they
she DSC, yeah, and she moved from another state, right? So, like, ouch. Um, but she was great, like, she was very, very positive, and she was very open to coaching. So that was my team, and I had to figure out what mattered to them so that I could continue to drive that anytime there was conflict or anytime that we didn't agree with each other. One of the other things that I will tell you, I said a lot to that team, especially that leadership team, was you might not agree with the decision that I have to make, right? Because being a leader is hard. And sometimes you've got to make hard decisions because you said it earlier, Mikey, like if you're not performing, this is a performance-based business. So there will be a change.
Yeah.
So my job as the leader is to change people or change people. Like I'm either going to
Hmm.
change you and get you better so that you're performing, or I'm going to have to change you and replace you to get someone who will, or my boss is going to do that to me. Right.
Ooh, I love that. That's a new one. I've never heard the change people or change people.
Yeah, I think
Ooh,
That's a good
like I
one.
can't take credit for that. I think that's Josh Kirklandism. So probably a RK way back in the day, but
yeah. Fair, fair.
Yeah, our job is to change people or change people, right? Because ultimately your leader is going to make a change if you're not hitting the mark.
You're
So,
we're still gonna give you credit for that one, so yeah, absolutely.
but I think about it all the time. So you got to know what their why is, what their motivation is, so that you can continue to come back to what matters to them. And then once we had those conversations, I meant what I said, and I was very intentional on making sure. So that DSC that had never famed. Her first fame bonus was like $17,000. That was so cool. And then the other DSC that was chasing people off, I had her onboard a new associate outside of my office so I could see, like, I could listen to the conversation. She just said the
Mm,
word a lot. So we had a conversation about adults, and adults don't like being told no. Like, children don't like being told no, but adults really don't like hearing the word no. So if a new associate was like, "Hey, I want to put together a list of all these restaurants I know or food trucks I know because I know the business owners," she would be like, "No." Why? Tell them why.
why are you saying no to that?
Why and, like, why would you suggest not only going after restaurants and food trucks, right? Like, why? Type of thing.
Yeah.
Uh, so that switched, and then, by the time we were done working together, she had a whole team of veteran associates. So it was literally just listening to kind of figure out what is the tweak that needs to happen to correct the behavior. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, you do so there's 2 parts to it. It's like, I feel like a lot of times we have cheerleader RSCs, and I've been guilty of all of this, where cheerleader RSCs are just like, "Yay!" Like, "Good job!" Like,
Yeah.
because they're just trying to get affirmation from everybody.
Yep.
But then it also just doing that work, but, like, anytime that somebody's done the work with me,
Yeah.
I'm forever indebted to them. It's the people I hold sacred because they spent the time to actually coach me. And those growth periods in your life, they don't happen enough, so the fact that you're doing that with them, and it feels good, and everybody feels better because when you're not coaching and then they know that they should be coached, and then like that dance is just, it's a exhausting, terrible dance.
And uh, nobody likes having a conversation with a person that doesn't have a soul behind their eyes.
Yes.
Correct,
We
right.
all know those people, right? We've all met someone at some point in our life that is that person. And when you're a leader, they see right through it. Like you have to ask the question and then do what you say you're gonna do. Because the minute that you don't, your credibility is gone.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quick, it's quick.
Very,
Yep.
very well said. Every hero needs a sidekick. The site seller is yours, helping you ask the right questions, show the right numbers, and land the right solutions. Navigate conversations like a pro and turn every business owner into a believer. But I love what you were saying, about focusing on what matters most to them and then driving the metrics of coaching through the metrics, right? To get them to
Mhm.
that level so that DSC to fame, or especially this DSC to grow a team. And I talk about verbiage
Yeah.
so often in sales school. Like verbiage, like with the
Yep.
words you use and the way they land go a long way. You have to figure out how to communicate to someone. And so I appreciate you saying that because all you did was listen, observe and made tweaks to it. And it doesn't take much. It does
Yeah.
not it's not like turning a cruise ship that I always say, like, at the sometimes market territory level, like these mega yachts, those container ships where it's like to turn it's gonna take you some time. So, like, associates, it's a cigarette butt, like, you just turn left. It's
Yep.
minute things.
You guys have such a diverse culture in your market that leadership wise, that matters too, right? We can find common values, even though we might have very diverse and different backgrounds and different cultures, if we ask the right questions,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
So that matters. I mean, I think about LA all the time from a culture perspective of how to do that, and
Great point.
following through. So,
Yeah.
And your word should mean something, so follow through and do what you say you're
mhm,
gonna do. So,
yep,
a lot of times in a RSC, DSC relationships and through my own experience, yeah, it's where it's when things are great, right? Things are moving along and systems work as long as you continue to put pressure to it. But sometimes everything goes out the door because we end up focusing on the number versus that, the why again, right? We're not leading
Yeah.
ahead of time. We're pushing to the final, like, dime at the very end of the day. Because I think a lot of DSCs, like when we first start, we are so like Bambi, wide eyed, ready to go, trying to do everything right.
Yeah.
And then we get into this rhythm where things aren't functioning. So how do you know, in that relationship where it's gravy to begin with, like you're starting it, you're
Yeah.
building it, and then all of a sudden it just goes and does that, let's say, left turn, right? How do you go
Yeah.
about through coaching a district in that scenario?
So my mother-in-law told me when I got engaged to my husband, how you start your marriage is how it's going to end. And it's
Hmm.
so applicable to our business with Aflac. And really what she was saying is like, Gina, if you cook all the time, you're going to cook all the time. If you're the one that does laundry all the time, you're going to do laundry all the time. Right. And as a DSC, couple things. I think block calendaring is so important for your sanity and RSCs as well.
Yeah.
Mm, Because when you try to pivot every single day to do 20 different things, you're going to get burnt out. And that's when you're going to start dropping some balls, right? To your point, Michelle, in the beginning, you have so much white space in your calendar as a DSC till you get a new associate that you're like, heck yeah, I'm going to answer their call at 8 o'clock at night. Heck yeah, I'm going to answer their call at 5 in the morning, right? Like you have no boundaries.
Correct.
You have some boundaries. So how you onboard them and talk about communication and ask the question like, hey, how do you like to communicate? I am of the age that my cell phone did not have texting when I was a first new DSC. And so when texting came on the scene, these younger DSCs were like, what do you mean you don't text? I'm like, what do you mean you text? Like, Mike won't charge me to pick up the phone and call me. Right? I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, I next tell
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not gonna
I
A,
walkie-talkie.
yeah, I'm not gonna AAA, right? To get to the right letter. Like, good Lord. So, but it's funny, right? Because that matters. So how do people communicate? We tell them all the time to do that with our business owners, but we forget to do it for our associates. So I think one, setting expectations on like, when are your work hours? What does your calendar look like? Because again, we teach our new associates. You guys do, I'm sure in sales school or onboarding, what they should be doing every day on their calendar. So teaching them how to block schedule. And then when you do get too busy, like this was a hard lesson for me to learn because I'm a control freak. Ask for help, right? Ask for
Yeah.
help. We forget to ask for help. And then two, go back to what you know. Like sometimes I think within Aflac we can overcomplicate things so much instead of knowing like this is what I have to do. At the end of the day, what is an associate's job? It's to write an app or create an opportunity to write an app.
Mm-hmm.
What is
Yeah.
an ESC's job? It's to train a new associate and write business,
Yeah.
right? Like third, let's pepper in some nominating,
Yeah.
right? But like at the end of the day, that's it. It's pretty simple. So if what you're doing that is derailing you and sending you down the path doesn't fall into what those are, give yourself permission to like say to your leader, hey, this doesn't serve what we actually are supposed to be doing. Michelle, I'm not going to do that, right? I'm not going to focus on building this weird report thing. I'm going to get you their data that's required every week because that's an expectation. But my job is to do this, right? As an
Yeah.
associate, my job is to write an app or create an opportunity to write an app. What does that mean? You're prospecting.
Yeah. Exactly.
Prospecting
Yes.
for a writing business.
It
That's
is
it,
that simple.
right? DSC,
Yeah.
take your new associate and show them how to do those things. And then do
Gina, I was just gonna say, you just said again so many important things, and I love that analogy, by the way, that your mother-in-law gave. That's so spot on, and it's one of those that I know that each and every one of us at different moments of our lives have done that thing of like, oh yeah, once I get in that role, that's when I'm gonna start doing that, and it's like, oh yeah, once I, if you're like, oh yeah, once I have kids, that's when I'm gonna start eating better and exercising. It's like bullshit. That's
yeah.
yeah, that yeah, you're dead already. Once you're a big district, it's already whatever's there, that's the systems, that's the procedures, that's what's gonna happen with minor incremental changes. And I'm so happy that you were able to talk through that. And what's crazy, I want to ask one other quick one before we go into our rapid fire. But, we haven't talked about broker once. And, you really are driving broker through our entire territory. But I think we're going to have to pivot and have that on a second podcast with you. So I wanted to just ask a final question of, if you could sit down with just every new DSC in the company for just a couple minutes and just be like, this is it, and you might actually just echo what you just said, but what would be what would be your message to them?
Yeah, I think number one is you don't get to quit. You don't get to quit on a new associate, whether they come through you via nomination, they're your nomination, or your region recruits them. You don't get to quit on that person. Like that's number one. And then number two, I would say is do the work, man. Like just do the work, right? Like
Yeah.
every role in this company, if you do the work, you're going to be successful. But it's so true for a DSC. Your new associates are going to probably do about 20% of what they see you do. So if
Mhm.
you're not working, if you're not doing the work, if they're not strapped in to your car, if they're not listening to your conversations on the phone, if they're not listening to how you talk to a broker, how you handle an upset policyholder, going into those crappy accounts that we all every year are like, oh my gosh, I wish I could give this away, type of thing. Like take your people, do the work, and take your people to see you do the work because that's how
Yep.
they're going to be better than you. That's how they're going to learn, right? And there are parts of this business that are hard. They need to know that. So you're lying to yourself if you're not showing them, right? So I would say one, don't quit on them, and two, do the work. Take them with you,
Yeah.
do the work.
Yeah, it feels so good on the other end of it too. I mean that's when you do the work and at the end of that week, end of that day, end of the quarter, end of the
Yep.
year. I mean, that's the thing that is unmatched in almost any other career that we get here, especially from a leadership perspective. That I still chase that. Like I always because I love it that much, and it feels so good doing it.
Yep.
And it quiets some of those voices in the head sometimes. Anyways, I'll talk to my therapist about that. And Michelle Lee, let's do some rapid fire. Do you want to distinguish yourself from everybody else in the competition? Do you want to get the absolute best buyers in the country? Do you want to close more accounts than anybody else in the market? Well, use elevations.
Gina, first answer only, no thinking, don't think too much in these. These are gonna be quick, ready to go. So I'm gonna do the book or podcast you have recommended the most.
360-degree leader by John Maxwell.
Nice. Okay, Michael.
What is one piece of advice that was given to you that you actually implemented?
Oh, don't quit.
Solid, solid.
Yeah, don't quit.
Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Simple. Okay, I wanna ask one more. So this one has been my favorite question for the year, because regardless of the title you have, right? We always have some stressors in our life, and so if your stress was a mascot, what would it be?
Probably a chicken with its head cut off.
Love it.
I'm still kicking. I'm still going, but I'm running around like crazy.
Oh my god, that is
I
That
don't,
awesome.
was truly original. My God.
I don't know. Uh,
That was awesome. Oh man. Well, Gina, this was amazing. And, like we've said, I would love to absolutely do this again. Having every time that we have a conversation, we have you in front of the team, it is impactful. And this was amazing. And like I promised you, this was going to go by so fast. And so it did. So I just want to say a couple of my real takeaways. Obviously, the $25,000 baby in the car. Don't quit. Chicken with a head cut off. Block the calendar. And then also for me, how you're married today or what you're like in the first day of your marriage, that's you're gonna be like in the last day. I love that because that one is just goes on forever. So I just want to say personally, thank you as a friend, and this was been awesome for me. So thank you so much, Gina.
yeah, so welcome. Thanks for having me on.
So Gina, thank you. Just like Michael,
Thank you.
I've got so much to echo about, what we discussed in this conversation. When we have new associates, show them how to do the work side by side and do not quit on them. Show up, right? That's what the override's for. Do the work behind it. And the one saying that I love too was change people or change people. I know it's
Mhm.
not as applicable, I think, when it comes to associates down and so forth, but definitely, from our position in the market or even from territory down, like people are watching. So show up and do your best work every single day. There's nothing wrong with downtime, but do your best work when you do show up. So for this, to everyone listening, keep investing in people, keep sharing the opportunity. And remember, with every great organization, it started with one conversation. And to the first 5 listeners that text $25,000 baby in our LA Legends group me, right, will get a packet of ducks. So we appreciate you guys turning into the LA Legends. We'll see you next time on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.